How's everybody doing? Welcome to the fish room. Today's video I'm going to be rescaping this 55-gallon tank. So currently, I've showed this in my last fish room tour if you want to check it out. But currently I had a couple guppies in here. I just caught them out. We have an assortment of bristlenose plecos. But what I want to do here is I want to add, basically we're going to have half of this tank where it's going to be pretty dense. We want to grow some moss. And then I want to do some floating plants on the other portion. So we have kind of a high current area with some caves, some moss, and then over here I want to have it open, just kind of still a functional breeding tank and a sales tank where I can get in and out of it. Not like this tank over here where it's just kind of jam-packed with plants. It's kind of hard to catch stuff out, but it's really a nice tank setup. I am enjoying it. So I want to get a little bit of that going on in my sales tank so I can have some more live plants. Have some hiding places and also help the water quality and just the look of the tank a little bit. So kind of basing off these tanks above here, and I've kind of just let them go a little bit. I mean, I take care of the fish in the water, but it's not like I'm trying to escape these tanks. But this tank has a lot of moss growing on top of this acrylic yarn, but I want to start getting rid of all of the acrylic yarn in the fish room. It served its purpose for me, but I want to try something different. And I have enough plants growing now where I can take from a tank and spread them out. So I'll be taking a lot of moss from this over here. I've been letting wisteria grow in some of my tanks, and it's already doubled, tripled in size in the last few weeks, maybe the last month. But down here, we're gonna I have just some floating fake plants. This is the before. We're gonna go ahead, I'm gonna show you what I'm doing. I have some gravel here. I bought this from Home Depot. It was like $5. It's a bag of big river stone. So we're going to rinse this off as best we can. I'm going to tie some moss to each piece of rock using just some fishing line. We're going to put a bunch of those on the left side, maybe the entire tank. Maybe just leave a portion for easy to feed, like somewhere to drop in algae wafers to feed these guys. And then I want to have all the current on the left side because I think the floating plants don't really do well with a high flow. So that'll kind of push them to the right, somewhere they can grow, be very dense. And then also if they get really dense, they're gonna kind of shade this bottom half. So I don't wanna have too many plants underneath it. Even though it's just moss, we might put moss in the whole bottom of the tank, I'm not sure yet. But it is nice to have some bare spots where you can just kind of net out debris. You can get fish to the sides of the glass and actually catch plecos. And also with these rocks, I'll be able to remove them and put them into another tank or just take them out, catch fish, then put them all back in. Something that's not really stuck to the bottom of gravel. It's still a bare bottom tank. So let's go ahead, let's jump into this video. Okay, so far I netted out a little bit of debris. This tank has a lot of stuff in the bottom. That's kind of like mulch, just broken down fish waste and fish food. It's actually really good for the baby plecos whenever they have babies, for hiding in just little bits of food and debris. They kind of feed off that. But we moved the sponge filters over here. It just so happens that we have like strongest current to lowest current, which is kind of how I want it. I might dial those back a little bit, but we took a lot of that stuff out of here. We're just going sponge filter, breeding caves. I'm gonna take that one out. Next thing we're gonna do, I'm gonna show you, it's real simple. I'll just do a couple, then I'll show you what it looks like after we're done of tying the moss onto these. It's real easy, but I'll show you a couple of those, and then we'll kind of just jump forward to see what the tank looks like after that. The lighting's just kind of pushed off to the side, and we're going to go ahead and clean this lid here because those get real dusty over time. Any of your glass lids or DIY lids, every few months or so, it's definitely nice to take them out, rinse them off, clean them up. It'll let a lot more light through the tank in, just kind of clean it up. It looks a lot nicer. Okay, so we have a few of the larger rocks here that I could find out of the bag. Just rinse them off in a bucket of water right here. Just kind of dip them in, clean them one at a time. Definitely want to rinse those off because they're super dusty. But like I said, it was $5 for a bag of that. The whole bucket was $5 for a bag at Home Depot, so can't go wrong there. This moss is awesome. I have a huge clump of it, so we're gonna do a lot of these rocks and spread it out the best we can. I just pulled this from this tank and you wouldn't even know it because it was growing above. See where the big snail is? Like, and there's a little clump in the sponge. Let me put this down so I can point. But it was just right here growing like submerged in this giant mass. And it looks awesome. I'm excited to put it down because these tanks are a little bit brighter and just put it attached to the rock, see what it looks like. But this is really straightforward. I'm going to take a clump, put it on a rock, tie it down with a bunch of fishing line, and then drop in the tank. So let's go ahead. It's going to take me some time, but let's go ahead and check it out. There you have it, guys. So it took me a lot longer than I expected. I knew it was going to be a little bit time consuming. But yeah, just taking each rock one at a time, getting a clump of moss on there, wrapping it in fishing line, and making sure you can actually hold on to everything and tie it down. But long story short, it took me about 20 minutes or so, but we did get it done. I wanted to do more rocks, and I'll probably kind of pace myself out and do more tomorrow or in the next few hours here. But all in all, I mean, it's going to look a lot better. The tank got stirred up a little bit. I'm due for a water change in the next few days here. We're going to give some more floating plants on the right side, really anywhere in the tank, but I want to go more wisteria. I have a whole bin here of duckweed and water sprite, which we can use, but I kind of want to sift through the duckweed and just have the water sprite, or just do the wisteria. Wisteria, I don't know what it is about it, but I like the look a little bit better. But hopefully that gives you a couple ideas and just an update on the fish room. I did clean the lid here. It's kind of hard to see under there, but it looks a lot better now. It was super dusty. So we're going to give this time to grow in. I'm probably going to add a lot more rocks and moss, probably double or triple that. I would like to stack it on top of all these little flower pots and just kind of stagger them around. Maybe work my way almost on the entire tank would look really cool. And they're not that hard, just to lift up rocks and kind of stack them up and then catch fish, and then you can unstack them and kind of spread them out again. And eventually I'll be able to take trimmings from this. Once it gets a little bit thicker and it starts to grow up, I'm going to keep trimming these rocks to stay nice and short. One, so the bottom doesn't die and it stays rooted to the rock, and I can sell moss from that, and I can spread it to other tanks. Besides just giving this tank more time, obviously for the plants to grow, for the fish to start breeding more, I'm gonna up the amount of food I'm feeding these guys. I feed them algae wafers every morning and night, but now I need to feed them a little bit more. I know there's enough pairs in here to be breeding, but I could just get a little bit more water changes and food going to get them triggered to have some more babies. And I want to add some female guppies to this tank. If you watched my last video, we talked about line breeding guppies. So we have this tank over here to the right. I plan on doing the same thing as this tank, more caves for the plecas to breed, and do the moss rocks. I want to give it a couple weeks over here to make sure I like the look of it, make sure they all grow and they don't kind of float off the rocks or anything weird like that. Nothing's really going to go wrong here, but I just want to kind of pace myself out before I go deck out like 4 tanks and spend all this time. Do it on one tank, make sure I like it, mess with the flow. But we're going to add some more guppies to this tank, and I want to do a sale tank of female guppies. So we don't really have to worry too much about the hiding places for the babies, but eventually we have that option to colony breed or line breed guppies in these tanks, but we can do just females in here. That's why I didn't want to do rocks across the whole bottom, just because I don't really need to for the hiding places. It'll be easier to feed over here, but I think it'll look nicer, and it'll just, maybe I can even sell these rocks. I think that would be a cool idea. Once they're actually rooted to it, that could be something I'd sell as an add-on to my local sales. Maybe on my website I could start selling moss rocks instead of just moss and things like that. Once we have lights on all the tanks, we're growing plants, we're breeding fish. Always kind of looking for new opportunities to sell different things that I actually like myself, so I think they're cool for people to buy that you can't really find that at other places. So that's going to be a new video coming out. We're going to separate some of my males and female guppies, kind of getting a step ahead of ourselves, but that tank needs to get broken down. I'm going to split up the babies, the males, the females, and we're going to actually rescape that wall tank. Get an actual light on it. Right now it's got like half a light. We're going to redo that. The fish from that tank will go into these 2 tanks. Eventually this will move over like that with the rocks on the bottom. Let me know what you guys think about this below in the comments. If you like the moss rocks, if you don't like them. I think they're pretty cool. I do like how they turned out. They're definitely way nicer than my acrylic yarn I used. And definitely gives a nicer look to the tank, and it's going to be a little bit beneficial, even though moss is a slow growing plant. But the more live plants you have in your tank actually growing, they're going to be sucking out some of that extra fish waste and nitrates, keeping your tank just more balanced and healthy. As always, guys, thank you for watching the video. Please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell down there. It doesn't cost you anything. That way you'll get updated whenever I post new videos. Let me know what you want to see next. I have a lot of videos in the back of my mind that I have planned out I want to do updates on. So stay tuned for stuff like that. Check out some of my older videos here around the screen, and I will talk to you guys soon. Thank you.